All righty, folks, we're live. So apologize that this week we don't have our wonderful, cool intro, but that's part of trying to do a podcast while on the road, working out of a suitcase. So no super cool, awesome intro, just a wonderful countdown here. We were hoping to actually do this week during the show. Obviously, it's 7 o'clock Central, like 8 p.m. Eastern, and we don't really give a shit about people on Pacific time. So I don't know what time it is. But all things realistically, I mean, show is just too busy, and realistically, I'm pretty sure this mic would have probably picked up other expletives that we probably really don't want to be sharing on YouTube, so I don't get kicked off any sooner. So we had to wait, and we're in the conference room that a bunch of football players threw up in the night before at the hotel. True. So we are going live from the hotel after the KRE Expo in Kentucky. If you don't know about KRE, it's the Kentucky Reptile Expo in Lexington, Kentucky. This was my first time there, as well as SRS, who is with us here today. So, like promised, this was our first live on the road from a show. Again, it's impromptu, and even the setup, we've had about 5 issues. So, apologize it, but we're going to kind of go from there. For everyone that always sees my wife making smart comments from all the previous videos, this is what she actually looks like. She's not just a wonderful little emoji on the screen.
I like being a mystery.
So you know that's our wonderful expert salesperson. I believe she still actually has more snake sales than myself. And then on this side, for those of you that don't know, so Shawn and Rachel have known me since I've had 3 ball pythons back when I originally got into snakes. Funny thing was, I believe it was around 11 p.m. at night on like a Thursday or Wednesday night or something at my buddy's pet shop. And I remember telling him, I said, I wanted to get into genetic stripe and I needed an ivory female for a freeway project. Well, he found Shawn's listing at around 11 p.m. at night and said, you should message this guy. Fast forward now, 3-5 years or something that it's been on now. I feel like we're probably hit somewhere around 20 maybe transactions, 30 transactions. It's been a lot. And at this point, it's not just that I'm a customer. Realistically, we're basically family at this point. I mean, with the amount of things that we do. If you haven't already noticed, between the end of last year as well as now into this year, a lot of shows now that we're just kind of ramping up, kind of tag teaming and going together. So really excited about that. Makes it a lot easier, obviously. Highly suggest people try to tag team with someone that you trust, just because 1, makes shows a heck of a lot more fun, and 2, let's be realistic. Most of you guys know I don't do a lot of pie besides DG pie, which I backed into. Actually worked out today. Guy came to me and said, I'm looking to do banana pied stuff. I said, I don't do banana pied stuff. I said, Shawn, you got banana head pieds? Sure enough, he had something, ends up in a sale, ends up in a happy customer. So again, another reason why you should try to find that kind of cohort in a sense in the industry, and have fun with it. But without further ado, I will let SRS introduce themselves, besides just talk them up here for about a half hour. So feel free to take it away.
All right, I'm Shawn. Many of you know us, many don't. We've been breeding again for about 9 years now. Got into this originally over 20 years ago, and due to some personal issues, had to get out for a while and got back in when Rachel and I started dating, and here we are now.
Yeah, we got back in under the guise of, I just want to get a small snake. This guy that I know has a ball python. What's a ball python, Shawn? Oh, well, let me tell you, Rachel, a ball python is this and this, and it's just this fireball python, and
Is it a firefly?
He just wants some of the babies from it, and we don't even have to pay for this. And okay, well, I'll just let you get this snake. And the next thing I know, there's a rack.
So that one rack went to about 3 racks in a matter of probably a month, and now it's gone to
a lot.
We have no basement.
But
it is what it is.
To be fair, he has been trying to scale down.
We have scaled back a lot. We got up over 300 breeder females at one time, and just the ball pythons. That's not counting. We do Mexican black kings. We do some scaleless rat snakes, Ridley eye rat snakes. Rachel has
Lots
now
of
a pretty
geckos.
massive collection of geckos.
We
So.
both do. It's
Yeah.
not just me.
We can't forget about the Woma pythons.
And the Woma pythons.
The Woma pythons.
The favorite thing, that's what, got me started years ago.
Yeah.
Still the most important ones to me.
And what's my favorite thing? What are my favorite snakes?
The super ass
Really
puppy
nice.
days.
Oh, Giselle, I forgot about her.
Yeah.
Don't talk about her. What are my favorite collection?
The Ridley eyes
No.
and the scaleless
Mine.
rats.
Thank you. The scaleless Texas rat snakes. They're awesome.
So I think the other thing, obviously here, one, I think like I said, it's been like 5 years now. Obviously, I've been knowing and working with them. You hear a little bit around their background and everything like that. But, I feel like I'm probably known for between how many things I post on Instagram, on my Cyber Serpents page, as well as that I'll just make outright comments with people. I mean, the amount of people that you hear the comment, obviously we've all heard it in the industry. I got to ask my wife, I have to ask my partner, all of that stuff. And obviously you guys have all seen probably the shirts that I've posted that I want to make with the Cyber Serpent shirts and stuff. So, I purposely just decided, it was funny. We were actually talking at an expo. Rachel was the one that brought it up, and she was like, we should actually do a whole episode in the hobby where we actually talk about obviously how to have a successful relationship while breeding reptiles, ball pythons, because there is a plus minus perspective. There's a give and a take perspective to everything. So that was the other reason. I didn't think here. I think one is to kind of prove, look, you can have people that are actually married and happy, and we don't. I don't know.
Functional.
Do you have to ask Rachel every time you buy something?
No.
Yeah.
No.
See, and there you go.
Yeah, we have a good agreement. That if it makes sense for business, usually we're both okay with it. And then on the other hand, Rachel, she doesn't have to ask me either because she hardly ever wants anything more reptile wise. So it is something she wants.
I want it the other way.
Yeah.
I want it walking out. Not walking
Yeah.
in, right? Yeah.
So, but the plus side is after all these years we've gotten now where it's easier to go to these shows and not want because, we're all kind of focused on the projects we have, and unless it really dives deep into one of those projects, it just doesn't make sense to add it at this point.
No.
Yeah. I think, the other piece to it too, as well as, there's the give and the take. There's the house perspective as well. We've talked about this. My wife makes fun of me about this. I have probably somewhere around a 16 by 16 square full of cork bark, wood, 600-gallon totes that are not filled with water yet, that are all for monitor enclosures that have yet to be built. Our concrete stained of Reptichip now at this point.
So,
yeah,
how do you feel about that, Dakota?
I could choose to let it bother me, but I'm just gonna let it go.
It's gonna
no
raise-
use in
yeah.
letting it bother you.
Yeah.
It's gonna raise the resale value on our house. Everyone wants those nice stained concrete floors. So
Coconut, you can't beat it. Nice red coconut stain.
That's perfect. That's hilarious. And you do.
Oh, go ahead.
No.
I was going to say, most of our house, I feel like, has something reptile related or tarantula related in every room.
And
Right.
that's all right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
yeah, I remember when, we started before the room was built. There was a point where it was a combination of my office, what we call the blue room, which for anyone who does not know the term blue room refers to the only the only room in my house that I have not painted yet, which is this obnoxious blue, and it was kind of become a hybrid between the treadmill that still has Brock shirt from like 2019. So like there's still a Brock Wagner reptile shirt, like the purple ones that people have seen before. It's still hanging on the treadmill that is basically more of a clothesline at this point than anything. And used to house all of my snakes. Now it's my tarantula room. So, I think that's another piece to it too, give and take, but drawing your boundaries, I would say, within the house.
Yeah, it's hard to keep those boundaries because you always see an area that you think, oh, I could put another rack there and add this, it boils back to like we were talking about keeping focus on certain, certain
Yeah,
projects.
not getting,
Ahead of yourself.
There's a lot of temptation, but you know that you want to stay in those certain projects and that's where your focus needs to be. So I think that helps with the boundaries in the house as well. If it wasn't for that, we'd probably have something overloading every room in the house.
Yeah.
oh yeah, because we have made it to where we basically refuse to let it come into our living spaces upstairs. And so we keep it to where if it grows, then we know that we have to modify it and play Tetris.
Yeah.
In the
Right.
certain area, like, because even we even have room where his stuff could flow into my stuff in the gecko room, but he doesn't.
No, we have tried to make it so we keep those rooms completely separate.
Yeah.
The snakes in one area, her geckos in the other. However, some of the geckos are in my snake room right now.
But that's also nice because when I'm trying to clean geckos and he's trying to clean snakes and we're both hot and we've worked an 8 to 10 hour day, we are not the most pleasant people in the basement when one person jumps or bumps into another one and has, you're doing a water bowl and it spills everywhere and it's like, did you see me?
Zariah says hello.
Hi, Z.
Hi, Z.
Oh,
Miss you, little girl.
oh, we love you. We love our sweet Zariah. Tell your mommy I said feel better. Give
So I
mommy
guess,
puppies.
talking about boundaries, that kind of brings everything in. Like you guys just started up not too long ago. When we first started, we had to really learn the boundaries with. We were trying to, instead of spending a ton of money to do every show staying in rooms, we were getting up 5, 6, 7
Oh,
hours
yes.
before shows and making the drive.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about boundaries, you were ready to kill each other
Yeah.
by the time the show started.
I mean, we still do that. I mean, I would say Dakota's used to it probably by now. I mean, show day for me is like any other day during the week. Most people know, like, I don't wake up. Surprised Rob Herman's not watching this one and busting my balls, but like he called me once in the morning and like he was joking the one time he called me like it was like 9 a.m. and he's like, so you awake yet? Or are you still working those banker's hours? So,
Yeah.
because I'm used to obviously my day job, so it's very much, it's very fluid, so it's just really based off when our meetings and whatnot are. So I have a lot more flexibility. But for shows on the weekends, I mean, I'll be the first one to say it, like, I'm cheap. Like, I don't want to spend a hotel because I'm always like, if I don't have to spend a hotel, then that's more money in my pocket. It's only my gas. So I've looked at that so many times. I mean, I've made the jokes before too about like dropping campers in like the Tinley parking lot and whatnot to not be able to go back and forth. But I mean, most of the Wisconsin shows we do, we're driving 3.5 hours every morning. We wake up, it's like what we leave, I think 4 o'clock in the morning or something.
Yeah.
Because my thing is, I want to be the first one always in the expo hall too, because the doors are not extra wide. They're like your typical doors. So the Dakota's used to me getting upset over something.
Oh, and
Yeah.
you just have to woo-saw your way through it because
You-
you're also tired.
Yeah.
So when he gets in that mode, I'm like, correct your face, stop.
Yeah.
We've
And if it doesn't work, then I just back off.
Well, when we first started doing a lot of the shows, we did a lot of Michigan shows and everything was an hour ahead of us. So we had to
Yep.
compensate for that. It was funny. We have a couple that, were customers that became very good friends and one's retired, the other's heading there. And
Mike and Karen.
yeah, they've made the joke a few times. Do we need to come separate you kids at the show?
Oh, yes, before the doors would open. Oh, we would be going at it.
Yeah,
I don't think we've
definitely.
been like that.
He would
Yeah.
tell me, to do
Well-
something and I'd do it wrong or something. He'd be like, you did it wrong.
Our problem used to be, it didn't matter what we did and we'd plan to go to bed early and it would never work that way.
That's how it always goes.
So we were
So
exhausted.
you give out 4 hours and you're on the road and it just, by the time you got to the show, you were just over
Yeah.
it in
Yeah.
general. And then you had to put on a different face and
But by the time the doors opened,
you're good to go.
Yeah, you
we
get
were
over it.
fine.
Yeah.
We were like immediately
Yeah.
over it,
Yeah.
because the stress was done. Like what is done is done. It is what it
Right.
is now. We'll just make the best of it.
So it was an interesting boundary to learn that, and after a while we decided, you know what, that extra $100 a night worth our sanity.
Yeah.
you know?
You
Where,
gotta find what works best for you.
Yeah, 100%.
exactly.
where's the boundary on you're away from the table and somebody decides to hand $5,000-$6,000 cash for a clown?
Okay.
Do we trust Rachel with that much cash?
100%, 100%, but Rachel doesn't trust herself with that sometimes. We actually had that happen at Tinley Park, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, a buddy that was out at the tables messaging me, and he's saying, "Where the hell you at? Get back to your table. You need to be back here." And Rachel had already done the deal. It was just a matter of accepting, you know, the payment. We have an agreement. If I'm away from the table and she calls or texts me and I don't respond, whatever she takes, she takes. I can't be mad at it.
But
So,
I don't want the pressure or the responsibility of the deal because he knows what he wants to get out of that animal, and I don't have access to his internal information that he keeps
Right.
track of. So unless I have had previous discussions about that with him, which
Yeah.
very seldom, I will not make the judgment call.
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
See, like that's my thing. It's like every single time I walk away from the table, those judgment calls never happen. Like they come by and there's like they just hand her money.
I've had
Right.
people purposely wait for him to leave and come over and try to deal with me because they've found me to be more friendly and outgoing, so they thought that it would be
They could
easier
take
to-
advantage of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we've also had people that wouldn't deal with her and wanted to wait on me, and I'm not gonna do that. You started
Yeah.
with her,
That-
you
yeah.
can finish with her, you
Yeah,
know?
it goes both
It's
ways.
part of,
Mhm.
you know, I think it's getting better in the industry, but
It is.
there for a while, it seemed like, you know, the guys didn't want to deal with the women behind
Yeah.
the table when it came to final.
Well, and there weren't that many. I mean, let's face it. I mean, there weren't that many big, I would say, breeders that had, I would say, involved females or where the
No.
lead person was a female. I mean, obviously now you have like what? I mean, Noble's Reptiles. I mean, I know it's both of them, but I mean, I feel like it's mainly Lindsay that's always on the pages that's driving it. I feel like anytime people that I know who have bought from them, they've been the one corresponding with Lindsay when it's, you know, whether it's Desert Ghost or Reggie
She's
or
overly
whatnot.
competent in that area.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I
absolutely.
think that's, you know, my thing. I think it's like outside of like them, you know, I know Full Throttle, I know, you know, they're, you know, both engaged in it. And then I think what on like the Anaconda side, I mean, obviously one of the only Anaconda breeders, you know, in the US, which, you know, I think it's funny, you know, how many macho guys and you're like, you want to hold an Anaconda and they say no, well, you know, Megaconda is wrong. You know, I mean, you look at that. So yeah, I think the industry is slowly starting to get away with that, you know, get away from that. But I look at it just like the auto industry. I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, there's just, there's a lot of testosterone floating around and some people just need to get off of the creatine.
Yeah, you know, I won't throw names out there, but the more we go into this, the more we see there's just a lot of people that have gotten a little full of themselves.
Yeah.
I'll just put it nicely.
Well, and it's obvious.
And they make it very obvious. And in the end, you know, they're the ones that are gonna have to deal with whatever comes from that. Me, it's just more the respect, you know, if I'm gone from the table and you come up and you want to deal on something, there's no reason to wait on me.
Right.
Rachel will help you, you know, and I think people have gotten better about that over time with us because they're used to seeing Rachel's face behind the table now, and she can talk the game just as good as anybody else. So
who's the better salesperson?
Man, lately I'm starting to wonder.
It is him, 100%.
She,
What about you guys? I think it's you.
It's still her.
Still her.
On the snake side, she's.
I see
But
it.
I
I see it.
I'm
with
gonna
her.
be honest, like I don't know much. I just know the basics, so I don't
What
know
does it matter?
what it is.
No,
That doesn't matter.
on the snake side, it's been her. I mean, I honestly feel like it's like the couple that were close that have never, you know, that we look back on that haven't closed. I mean, yeah, that was just because there was just one question or something, you know, and I think that's just like part of it. Like that's been something that we've been trying to get her on as far as like understanding, because a lot of people ask, you know, I have all the acid stuff on the table. What does acid do? And those types of things. It's getting her past that hump. But otherwise, outside of that, I mean, hate to say it, I mean, people don't really push her to the same limit, I would say, or push the buttons the same way they do with me.
No,
I just always
they're not
refer to
gonna
you.
grill you the same.
Yeah.
The same.
No.
And they don't do that to me either for the most part. And I do occasionally make mistakes and I have to be transparent. You don't want to make a mistake as a newer person trying to learn, because that's me and he's my mentor. And I just have to remember if I am incorrect about something, just to be transparent and not act like I know everything. You don't need to know everything,
Exactly.
but you do have to be honest.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So
You're though, like, when you make mistakes, it's usually because it's been a short night and you're tired.
or I'm nervous.
Yeah, or that.
Yeah.
Every once in a
Sometimes
while.
when I get put on the spot, my brain just doesn't work too well.
Sometimes.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, I get all nervous.
Like I can
I'm
know
"Ah."
something, but when I'm put on the spot, I like
Mhm.
freak out. I'm
Like my phone number, you know,
I don't
randomly
have that
ask for
problem.
my phone number, and I'm like, I can't remember.
I'd be curious on this one. I mean, I'm curious, it might be different for each of you, you know, best, or it doesn't have to be best, the most interesting or something like that, either show memory, show experience. Like we've all had them. I mean, it could be something out there, it could be something random, it could be something funny, it could just be, you know, great time, whatever it was. It can be about that time with Brad at Daytona.
Which
Oh.
time with Brad at Daytona?
Brad's always entertaining at Daytona.
Which time?
Oh man, we've had so many, you know, good memories and funny laughs at shows.
Mhm.
You know, I think some of my best memories really, you know, we've had some really good Tinleys, but Jason and Kelly Cruz, they put on the Cold-Blooded Expos, and we've
Absolutely.
had some amazing nights with those guys. You know, they would open up
Our favorite shows.
the night before and let people set up, you know, and you start having a few drinks. Next thing you know, you're running up down the halls doing who knows what that you're not supposed to be doing.
Or you're just going to dinner.
Or dinner, you know, and then
socializing.
yeah. So for us, I mean, I guess those fun times, we're separate from some vendors, you know, we're not the, hey, we're going to the strip club and drink tonight type. We're
Right.
the, hey, let's hang out with some of the other breeders and vendors.
Yeah. Play
But
games.
let's
games.
let's be clear. If it's NARBC and Troy from Best Dressed is there, it might be a slight strip club because he does seem to consistently take his shirt off on elevators.
Get it, Troy?
Yeah, Troy tends to do that.
Sorry, Troy, it went viral.
We've mostly not been around for that, but we have heard about it several times.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Troy, you know, Troy's a good dude.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think that was part of it. I mean, because from my side, until we started doing more NARBCs with you and stuff now, you know, there's that whole other aspect. I mean, like, look, the last fall, St. Louis, I mean, it was a decent show, I think. It wasn't one of those shows where I don't think anyone like just killed it, blew it out of the water, but we all did a good show. But that Saturday night was
Yeah,
that was something else.
Eventful.
it was eventful, yeah, for sure. That Saturday night we scurried around. We had way too much going on that night than we should have, but we made it work, you know, had a good night. We went out to the steakhouse with Brock Wagner and a bunch of other breeders. Yeah, yep. So it's always something, you know. How do you narrow down like your favorite, or because there's never a dull moment,
Yeah.
let's be honest.
Yeah, I think my thing is like it's never the favorite. It's like there's always something I feel like especially like a lot of the larger shows like Tinley, Schaumburg, or some of the other shows you consistently always like you do like 3-4 times a year, like you guys do. I know like Minnesota, Cold-Blooded, what is it? They're like all 5 times a year. There's always like one thing that happened over maybe those 5 times you went to that expo or something. That's just like that's what you remember, and like that's your 2022 memory, your 2019 memory.
Honestly, our memories with Cold-Blooded Minnesota it never fails, man. We get caught in a snowstorm every time.
Not just that, but
it never fails.
And the tornado.
And the tornado this last one, yeah.
Not only the most eventful show for the traveling, it is my favorite because we always have good time with people up there.
Yeah,
we
100%.
always get to spend time with someone and visit and relax and go to the mall and actually like feel like we're living while we're working.
Yeah,
you know?
Right. Just you know, this last
I love
one.
That show.
Yeah, this last one we actually had a couple customers up there that had become friends over time too. So we ended up meeting up with them, and He took us to an actual high-speed go-kart track.
Oh, cool.
So it was a little
That
crazy.
sounds fun.
It's actually professional.
Yeah,
Really?
they have racing leagues there on these go-karts.
Who's the better race?
Rachel won't let you pass her. So it doesn't matter.
It
If she leaves
It's
before
so
you, you're
funny.
stuck.
About that.
is so me.
Well, you weren't allowed to bump, so yeah. And I think she can maneuver that cart a little bit better than I can.
Oh
so.
yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Who's the better long distance driver?
Oh, 100% me. I mean, we could hop in the car right now after working an 8-10 hour day. Let's drive to Daytona all night. We're not stopping.
I
Other
feel,
than bathroom breaks.
I feel like 5 years ago it would have been me,
Yeah, no longer.
but not anymore. Now,
No
like
longer.
I can't. I feel like I hit 3-hour wall, and on the way back I'm
I feel like
toast.
I'm gonna die.
Yeah. Versus like I feel like when we were like dating right before we were engaged, when I had just graduated college and she was still finishing up college, like I used to drive 8 hours back from North Dakota back to Iowa. And I used to be able to do that straight with like just one stop for gas. Now I'm a lightweight
You're
when it
old
comes
now.
to
You're
sleeping.
30.
Yeah, I'm 30. I'm over the wrong side of the hill.
Well,
Just wait.
You know, I'm pulling in the gas station, getting gas, and grabbing a Rainer or Bang, and I'm good to go. We're gonna make this drive.
Yeah, I don't have that in me anymore. I feel like, I mean, and if I stop and I get food, if I'm hungry, that's when it gets worse because if you stop, you get food, then
you're even worse.
you're done.
You're
But
uncomfortable.
True. Yep.
it was pretty shaky there from like Indianapolis to the Kentucky line. I felt like
You got a little tired, did you?
oh yeah, yeah,
It wasn't as bad as some other times, though.
that is true. There was that
I feel
time
like-
with the trailer.
See, and this is why, okay, this is one of the reasons why we have started doing things the way we do them. You know, where we travel for so long and then, so we had those instances where we were trying to rush to get somewhere in front of a show, you know, that
Yeah.
morning. And it was just like,
So
so
it's
much
important to be
pressure.
organized and
Right.
What do you do to be more organized so you're not forgetting stuff?
I mean,
all the
I
time.
think our big thing is we just try to do like pack everything we can the night before, like into the truck, and even like getting the snakes prepared.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, my thing is like always like, and I'm still really slow on it. Like I still feel like between setting up and taking it down and the packing and stuff. I mean, I'm like, I don't know, with like packing the snakes. I mean, that I feel like I'm like it takes me forever because I mean, like when we dropped dogs out of the kennel and came back, I still feel like I'm bagging every snake that morning. Like I'm like I can get this done in an hour. No, it ends up taking. 2 hours because I'm checking every single tiny little thing. Okay, good. Then you're writing the label out on the snake, even though I know what every single one is when I look at it right off the bat.
Yeah, I don't get that.
I still do it just well. So I do that because like my thing is like always like if we're so busy or running behind, my goal is like you'll look at the tag, be able to read my chicken scratch, and be able to put it in the right thing,
Yeah.
and like then like. There's no worry about having to like resex anything, have to read, be like, oh, well, that's this and that's this, and no.
You could just do it on the bags where
I
the
know.
similar and
Where
it
people-
saves so much more time.
Where people write them straight on the bag, but if you write on the bag, then I can't use another snake in it. So that's
No,
why
I
put it on
wasn't
the
saying
bag.
it's
true.
I wasn't saying
Oh.
on the bag. I'm saying
Oh, yeah.
like if they're similar,
No.
then that's
yeah.
when you do your little.
No, I probably should.
It'd save a lot more time.
No, I know. I'm just time consuming with everything. I'm a
It's,
perfectionist.
Well, but if you find the system, you stick with it.
Yeah, you always end up forgetting something. Let's be honest. Like last show, Lafayette, we got there, got in a room, ordered food. We're sitting there, food got there.
Both of us.
They didn't give us any silverware, and I'm like, oh, snake bag. We always have extra silverware in our supply bag.
Yeah.
Nope, walked out and left it sitting at
We
home.
both just looked at each other and
So-
stopped and went, oh.
Business cards, credit card machine, everything left, 3.5 hours away.
Yeah.
But you learn to just swing it, make
Make
things
it
work.
work.
Yeah.
That's all you can do. You can't let that ruin your
No.
time.
Not at
The
all.
show.
Freaking out about it won't
Yep.
get you anywhere.
That
So what did we do? We called Brad, and Brad made sure to bring us.
yeah,
what we
luckily
needed,
Brad hadn't left home yet, so he brought an extra credit card reader
which
and
is great. And why you
markers,
should be
and
friendly
so
with the people you've been with.
so we ended up, the only thing we were out was the business cards that day, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
It happens. It is what it is, But usually I'm pretty guilty of setup. Rachel's like, "Where's this snake?" And oh crap, I didn't grab that one.
Oh, no.
Oops.
I can be known for that one.
That's all right.
I've done it more than a few times. But you know what? I come home from work at 3:30 a lot of the times and instantly go downstairs and start packing animals so we can get on the road on Friday if it's Saturday show, and even if it's a Sunday show, sometimes we hit the road on Friday and go and enjoy wherever we're going on Saturday.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm rushing a little more than I should. So things get forgotten, but it's all part of it. You just kind of go with the
Yep, you
flow.
gotta roll with it.
And we do
Yep.
the same thing. We set the stuff like the bag by
At
the
the
front
front door.
door so that
You remember
we're
it.
not going to be able to forget it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here's the question. Do you have a rule, maximum number of shows per year? Do you say, I won't go over X amount of shows?
Yes and no.
Okay, the first few years doing them, when we were really trying to get the name out there, we were just running wild. We were doing shows, it seemed like every weekend, sometimes 2 a weekend.
And I just want to add that we were doing that because we were checking a lot of shows out
Yes.
also.
Yeah.
So we didn't know about them yet.
It helped us kind of pick out which ones we wanted to continue, which
Right.
ones we didn't. Over the last probably, what'd you say, 2 or 3 years, we've cut down to mostly NARBC shows, the cold-blooded expos,
Mhm.
and we do a couple shows still in the Michigan area.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now, of course, we tried Kentucky today to see how it was going to be. Nice, very nice show. And we're excited to let everybody know cold-blooded Iowa, we are coming back, and it's been 2 years probably, maybe
A
3.
long time.
Yeah.
So we will see you guys in June.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, right about, I think we're about 45 days out
Yep.
from it. And
Super looking forward to that
yeah,
one.
I mean, so same crew you see here will all be at cold-blooded.
Laughing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Having a good time, doing
Yeah.
our thing.
And if you don't know, me and Dakota are Iowa State alums. Dakota's from Iowa.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's
So we
it's
can
our
really get
second
wild.
home show.
Yep.
So we can really get crazy at that one. You guys know everywhere to go and do. And,
Yeah. I feel like I know. I feel like I still know Des Moines well, but maybe I don't.
What did you
Yeah.
say?
I feel like I still know
No.
Des Moines well.
Des Moines?
Des Moines.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yes.
our last show there, we got there somewhat late on Saturday evening, and I was supposed to meet up with John Curtis, Rodent Pro.
Oh, John.
Well,
we
John.
love you, John.
So we get there, Rachel's tired, she goes to bed, and I go down to the bar, and John looks at me, he goes, "You're about 20 crown apple and cranberries behind, buddy." So that night was wild. I think that was the night Rachel had to actually get up and let me in the hotel room so I couldn't get the key in the door.
Oh my God.
But it's just, it's the people like that you meet along the way and you have fun with,
Mhm.
Unfortunately, John is still with Rodent Pro, but they don't do shows anymore. They haven't since COVID.
Yeah.
We miss him.
Yeah, we all had a great time together. You guys have met Jason and Kelly, and
Yeah.
they're always a good time. To
They're
hang out
like
with.
family to us.
Yeah, definitely. They
For
treat us
sure.
like family.
They treat everyone so well.
When we were going through trying to figure out some financials with our company, Jason sat us down and really went in depth on some pretty good insiders to help us along the way on figuring out like our net worth with the animals and with the business,
How
so
to structure.
it's everybody in this industry can help each other out for sure. It's just a matter of the people that are willing to, the people that aren't. And you kind of figure out your group, and you go with your group and you follow. I shouldn't say follow because none of us really follow each other.
You create a community.
We talk to each other and see what each other's thoughts are.
You build up your
Yeah.
community, of people that care about each other. So when we're all vending together, we're not competing. We're all trying to get sales for one another, and it works out so very well.
You brought up the Nobles earlier, okay?
Yeah.
So for them, for example, I'd only talked to Lindsay and Tom online, and that was it. We'd never met them. They got wind that we were coming to do the Arlington show, and instantly they were reaching out. You guys are doing dinner with us. You're doing this. You're doing that.
Oh yes, that was wonderful.
It's the people like that
Yes.
welcome you into, their area.
Yeah.
That make these shows great, in my opinion.
And go
Yeah.
out of their way just to be so kind.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's like, I think on the reptile side, like I see a lot more of that. Like, I feel like the tarantula side, like from our side, I feel like that side's like more difficult. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
like, yeah, like we've got Marshall Arachnids, I've got, Murray at Paladin, like I feel like that I, talk to when I see at shows, and then like a couple other ones from up in Wisconsin, like John Apple and stuff that we'll see. But otherwise, it's like outside of that, like a lot of them, it's like I feel like they're in their own little lane. We don't see that as much, I would say, on the invert side of the community.
Okay.
And yeah, that's I think the interesting part, because I know every single time I feel like, when we sit down, like at any RBCs and stuff like that, and you mentioned that, I'm like, I don't even think I've been another bug vendor, on that side.
That's
like,
crazy.
I do isopods or anything like
Mhm.
that. I mean, and I get the tarantulas as my smaller side, but I do find that interesting that it seems like when we're down there, I mean, we usually have snake people, gecko people, dry goods people,
Right.
rodent breeders, reptile people,
Mhm.
Dan, ours was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Dan can get a little, let's put it nicely, I guess, crazy with Dan. You never know what to expect by about 9-10 o'clock Saturday night.
Honestly,
in the
though,
RBC with
if
Dan.
it's a Tinley, by 9 or 10 o'clock at night, you don't know what to expect from anyone.
Yeah.
True. As you know, Friday night at Tinley Park, we always try to organize a dinner and get as many people to come.
Yeah. And then another group of 30 will just try to invite them.
Yeah, they'll try to join, we're all from
Hey, that's
Tinley,
fine.
so somehow that worked out, they
Yeah.
did end up with us in Eden, which was interesting. So you meet some new people, that you probably would not have.
No, right.
Which is good.
Yes.
Mhm. It gets you outside of your norm. Hey, I was going to ask you something. I know mentorship has been big for us, for Shawn, for me. It's really helped us. Like, I feel like Jason was definitely a business mentor and definitely just very involved in helping us, Jason Cruz. Also, he's had Brock and Winston, to ask advice. And that's really important, to have a strong mentor to kind of run suggestions by, or difficult problems, or just even conflict with other breeders, how to handle things, how to get your headspace right with customers.
Especially the shows.
Well, first of all, two questions for you
Yeah.
guys. One, who are your mentors? And two, or do you have them? Two, does that apply in the arachnid space as it does in the snake space?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll kind of answer that in two parts. So like snake space, I mean, like I think you set you guys up for that one. I mean, like I feel like me and Shawn, like ever since I bought those first two from Shawn, then it was
It
like
was supposed to be
2
one.
days later, because Shawn had told me that he just made some nanny jigsaw. He's like, I think I'm gonna keep the three, but I don't know, I might let one go. Then he's like, all right, I'm gonna let one go. And I said, I'll have that one. And I felt like ever since, then I feel like me and Shawn at least talked like once a week. And
Awesome.
realistically now, at this point, I feel like we talk every single day. I mean, whether
Pretty
we're
much.
talking shit about something or complaining about the Bears, or we're talking about projects or shows or something like
Right.
that. And really, I mean, the way I look at it is like when I started out, like at the beginning, right around when, I met Shawn, started buying from you guys. All I had at that time was Justin Datz with Datz. You'll be on in a few weeks. Who's my rodent breeder. He also breeds ball pythons and stuff. He was the guy who got me in.
Awesome.
So I had, him, then I
Yes.
had you, and then I had another breeder, which I won't mention the name of that person at this time anymore, but that I used to text and that I got some snakes from. They sold them to me missex. They sold me one that was supposed to be certain genes guaranteed, asphalt, cough, cough, and it didn't land. It didn't work out. And it went from, as soon as I just mentioned that he made one mistake, with the snake that he sent me that was
Right.
missexed, he said, well, I don't guarantee sex. And from going from texting every single day about projects and someone who was trying to help me on all of my freeway projects
Right.
get to that next level, it became silent. So now it's realistically, I mean, most of my mentorship, I would say, is realistically, it's you, it's been Justin, and then the rest of it's kind of been sprinkled, I would say, across kind of some different people, you know, from time to time. Obviously, I've talked with Brock, but not to the same extent, I would say, as, you know, other folks. You know, I have a couple of other buddies and stuff that will kick the tires on projects. ASI Reptiles, who just does Desert Ghost. He's got, I think, like 300 Desert Ghost animals in his collection.
That's crazy.
He's a miniature fireball, is the only way I can put it. As well as my buddy Mike Pender, I mean, who's about, you know, about a year and a half, 2 years behind me, but everything that he's bought has been, besides what he's bought for me, has been, you know, high end, double recessive, triple recessive. Right. So we're already kicking the tires on projects. What are you doing? What do I want to do?
Right.
The arachnid side is weird. There are some people that are great. You can ask and get some insights for, and they'll help you and stuff. But otherwise, outside of that, I mean, as far as how to vend and stuff, I mean, a lot of that was just kind of, you just kind of roll with it. And I think it's just, again, I think there are a lot of great people in that space, but they're maybe not, I would say, as extroverted as some of the reptile people. So sometimes it's harder to kind of get that information. You know, I kind of understand that, being an IT person. I work with a lot of people that have that kind of introverted type skills.
Yes,
so
it's a personality style.
I mean, I get a lot of my help, honestly, on the arachnid forums from people I really have no clue who they are or what they look like even.
Wow.
You know, versus the actual people online. Like, a lot of my breeding and stuff is from a guy I became friends with, which I traded a ball python for a few tarantulas from him because a buddy had told me this guy's super big into tarantulas. And now, I mean, I feel like I talk to him all the time. So Devin from Invert Dreams, so he used to work for Kevin McCurley at Nerd. And so I've got an insights on everything from weird colubrids to, you know, boas, retics, Nile monitors, and then inverts is his big thing.
That's super cool.
You know, I think outside of that, I mean, a lot of it, I hate to say it, I mean, you just kind of have to roll with it on the invert side.
Gotcha.
I had a feeling that's what you were going to say.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, it's a lot of trial by error. And I think, because there's less of an exact science, I think, on inverts, because when someone's like, oh, like, this is moisture dependent, what you think it is and what I think it is are two different things.
Opinions, not facts.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a lot of opinions, it's a lot of guesswork, and there's a lot more politics on that side, more so, I would say, than even on reptiles. It's just gotten to the point where it's ridiculous that it's just like, I just kind of like staying in my own lane and doing my own thing.
Yeah.
I got my couple of friends in the hobby, and I'm happy enough with where that's at.
Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
It just popped into my head when you were talking about your mentor. That didn't work out. So for people that are searching for a mentor, and they are not sure if they're finding the right person, was there any flags before this happened, or how do you think?
So, I mean, that one was weird because there were no flags. It was interesting because it was right around, like, it was probably about a month or two before, like, Tinley was canceled and all of that. You know, I know I was already coming to pick a couple snakes up from you and Shawn, and I had a couple others already on deals, and that one I had snagged some asphalt stuff and some lavender albino clown project stuff, and, you know, I told them exactly, I remember with the lavender stuff, I told them exactly kind of like, hey, like, I'm just kind of getting started, like, this is where I'm at. And like, he was super helpful. He's like, here's my phone number. Like, text me anytime you want. And we just started talking projects, and he was like, oh, you should think about getting this, you should think about getting another female of this, you should think about this, here's a stack, here's what I would do. And it was really cool because it was very fluid to how me and Shawn are now. Like, all the time, it was like right off the bat, I'm like, I don't know why this guy wants to help me so much, but it's awesome. And as soon as, like I said, that one thing, and he, like, I told him, I said, like, I get that accidents happen. Like, all I wanted was, like, just make it right. Like, I'll keep the snakes. We don't have to go play shipping wars back and forth. Like, I'll keep it. Just give me the $200 or $300 difference, whatever it was, and put it towards another snake. And I actually offered to buy at that time, which still would have actually been the most expensive snake in my collection, an $8,000 super asphalt combo. And I said, if you take like $200 or $300 off, I said, I'll take it. You know, and, you know, he's like, no, it's in a different ballpark, like, than what you bought. So it was just really weird and stuff. And then he's like, I'll get back to you. And then it was just ghost.
Dead silence. Huh?
I found out later though, from getting to know other breeders, that there are other people both in his local area as well as just other breeders that have tried to work with him where it's kind of been the same thing. So I think it was just, it's one of those things where unfortunately, I mean, hats off, dude played a great con game. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but I think mentorship is fluid. I mean, you can always add new people. I mean, it's been going on about a year now. I mean,
And it's a friendship.
right.
It's not just, can you ID my snake? Can you tell me about snakes? I want to know more facts about snakes.
Right.
Right.
And
Right.
I mean, I'd put it, I mean, because like the reason I say it's fluid is like, I knew who Tony Thomas was from Hardware, but I didn't know him or have met him until last fall, where his booth ended up next to me at Tinley. And I ended up snagging a Mario Desert Ghost from him. And one thing led to another. And then forget how we were talking on Instagram for something or other. And, you know, a couple of snakes later, a custom knife later. I mean, we talked about
That's cool.
we've talked about
You
everything.
can't say that.
I mean, it's so weird because it's just like how me and Shawn have our quirks with our friendship and stuff.
Yeah.
Like me and Tony, like sometimes we'll talk, like we talked about turkey hunting, deer hunting. I remember because we both really like giraffe bone on our knives. We talked, I mean, back and forth, like geeking out over like giraffe bone. And like, I remember it's like late at night and like, she's like, are you doing snakes? I'm like, no, I'm like, me and Tony are talking about giraffe bone on like
Oh,
knife
nice.
handles. And so
I've never even heard of that.
I think it's like, that's, I think kind of the other unique thing is like,
That's so funny.
well, I still like look at his insights and stuff because he's been doing it longer, just like Shawn has. We have all these other like pieces I feel like is why. And I think good mentors, you have to have something else in common besides just your
Yes.
business.
Definitely.
Otherwise it falls apart because
Yeah.
there's nothing else that the
It's like
person's gaining
one-sided.
out of it.
Yes.
Yeah, you know,
It's not reciprocal.
when we first started heavy back into this, you know, Carson Phelps helped us out a lot, gave us a lot of
Yes,
nice
he did.
opportunities to get some very nice animals to get us up and rolling to where we wanted to be.
That we would have never been able to get.
Yeah, I probably would have
Wow.
never even thought about
Yeah.
spending the money for some of them
No.
back then. And then, you know, we became good friends with Brock Wagner, who has gave us a lot of insight on stuff. He's talked me down off the ledge a few times. And he's had a couple conversations with me too about just customers in general, because I think we all have done it when we're tired and we don't really want to deal with a certain customer and all we
Yeah.
think is they're not going to buy anyway. He's told me some stories that opened my eyes to, yeah, don't ever do that, because that one customer that you think can't even afford to be at the show or let
Yeah.
alone anything else is going to be an amazing customer and probably become a friend down the road.
All right.
So that's been a very important mentorship to us.
Mhm.
Winston Smith, anytime, you know, we talk pretty often too and reach out to him for different things. I run different projects back and forth, you know, with him and Brock, sometimes trying to decide if I want to do it or not do it, you know, because
Yeah.
they've been around so long that they've probably tried it.
Right.
So it's worth asking them, and that, you know, they may say, oh, I haven't done that. Let me know how it goes. Or, oh, no, that's bad. You know,
Yeah.
stay clear. So, I mean, you just got to open your eyes and let that mentorship come, you know, depending on who it is. And you'll eventually figure out if it's a good route or if it's, maybe they don't have the best insight. The best.
Yeah. And,
So.
I mean, I make that joke. I mean, I know I'm going to bring this up and Shawn's going to be like, dude, you're beating a dead horse on this joke. But I mean, when I got in, I remember within that first year, I mean, right after getting those initial couple, it was like right around when Tinley was canceled. Like at that point, like, you know, you already knew like, all right, this dude's gone off the deep end at this point. Like he's in it, you know, and we
Yes.
talked about those sunsets back then. I mean, back then, I mean, hypo sunsets were hot. I think that was the first double recessive with sunset at the time. I mean, cinnamon sunsets, which I get it, not everyone's a big fan of those, but back then that was a big thing, you know, and some of the other sunset combos are just coming out. I remember you know, multiple times you kept telling me like, come on, man, like you should. And I was like, hemming and hawing. And I mean, passed on that. I mean, Brock was the same way, kind of poking. Is like, oh, are you sure? And I mean, now fast forward here to 2023. I remember at Tinley before, it was right before then, obviously, then the next day I texted Brock and told him I'd do the deal and I'll take it. I remember Shawn came by and he goes, would you quit effing around and just finally do it already?
Sometimes we all need that bump. You know what I mean? We just can't. we know we want it, but we can't seem to pull that trigger for some reason.
No, I mean, and that's, I think, for me, for people who don't know me personally, like, I'm one of those people that will hem and haw and like teeter on things and overanalyze things as simple as like going to Walmart and buying a scale. My wife can tell you endless stories about stupid things that cost $10 or $16 that I'll sit there for 2, 3, 4 hours about. So like, that's my thing. Like, for me, mentorship is also someone that's able to finally poke me over the edge when they know that I want it, but I'm just like trying to find a million reasons why not to.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've caught myself doing that several times too. And Rachel's like, "What are you waiting on? What is holding you back on this purchase?" You know, and after I talk to her, I'm like, "Why haven't I made this purchase?" You know, it does happen.
Right.
And then sometimes when she says something, I just talk myself out of it even further. So.
Do you do that?
He does that.
I do that. Say, no, she's pretty like.
I just make a decision and it is what it is.
Yeah, like
roll with it.
I mean, I think I recall Dakota being kind of the mind of Nick a few times on things he couldn't make up his mind, and he'd call me back and say, "Dakota said I need to do it."
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, and that's, I mean, that's something honestly going forward. I mean, I've tried to do more is like when I'm on is like, it's like, all right, like just making like, I don't know why, but I just always like seem to vacillate, overanalyze, and like, I feel like Dakota probably has a laundry list of probably at least 100 different animals that like I've thought about, sat on, chewed on, never did it. You know, I think I've mentioned multiple times here on the show, she's the reason I'm in the puzzle project. She's honestly the reason we're now like with the sunset stuff where it's like, all right, like combination of just kind of continuously thinking about that through my head to just be able to kind of just jump and, take the leap of faith on those types of things. So,
which is amazing for your business.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah. No, I think, for me, I think that goes back to it. I mean, obviously, not everyone has, a significant other or something, but I think having a person, I think you need some type of a person, a support structure. Because I mean, look, as the saying goes, I mean, you are going to spend a ton of money to make a little money in return.
And a ton of energy.
But I think I see so many people now, and I hear myself, I feel like saying the same things that like Justin's told me or you've told me, that are like, they're just getting in their first year, their second year, and they're like, all right, I'm selling out, and they're already getting out, before they gave it a try. I mean, my first season, I feel like I tried it. It was kind of garbage. Like I didn't get what I wanted, but obviously now fast forward a few years, I've had a little bit better odds, not with hitting males still, but,
I got the reverse problem. So,
so it works out.
Right. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
no, and we tell a lot of, people when they come to the table and, they're just getting in, they're trying to build a collection, they want to breed. Don't expect that first 3 or 4 years to be excellent.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to be.
No, it's hard.
Some people get lucky and they do get, the first few years are really good, but that's not typical for most.
Yeah. Or if it is, it's because they dropped
a ton of money right in the beginning.
Yeah. So if you have a ton of money, you can just bypass all the stuff that we had to go through to build our collection up.
Right.
You can buy the collection that you want to work with. We had to start at a place we could afford, use our own money for 3 years before the business even supported itself.
Right.
Just for us to pay for the hotels that we stayed in, out of the snake account, 3 years.
And here's an interesting question. I'm just curious, obviously, your thoughts on it. I've seen a lot of folks that either came in around the time I did, or now, or maybe just a couple of years before I did, where I personally don't think it's sound advice, but what do I know? I'm not a financial expert. I've seen a lot of guys who have taken out a second mortgage on their house.
Oh no.
To buy snakes, to build a collection, which to me, from a business perspective, I'm like, that's a high risk, low reward situation.
Well, because it's sales, and sales are fluid and cyclic and not dependable.
Yeah.
So you would never want to owe someone money based on having to sell.
Not even just that, if you dump a ton of money on, say, But she's a monsoon, for example,
Yeah.
when it came out, $25,000, $40,000, $50,000, whatever they were. I don't even remember when they first came out. But okay, you refinance your house, you buy that animal, and then first 3 or 4 years, that male decides he's not going to breed for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know,
Or
then
the
you're
female's barren.
right. So then
Oh.
you're digging in your pocket and digging in your pocket.
Or he
anyway
passes
for-
away.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you invested in Carmel albino.
Yikes.
Yes.
I mean, you look at that. I mean, there are a lot of
Yeah.
people that were set back years for that.
Yes.
Well, you may or may not remember the original Desert Ghost.
Yeah.
The females wouldn't reproduce.
The Saharas or the Sahara line? Because
Yeah, I think it was the Sahara line. I can't remember now, but people were just selling them as pet only.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
the females would not reproduce.
Yeah. Oh, the deserts.
The deserts,
Yeah, the
yes.
deserts. There we go. Yeah.
But they were calling them desert ghosts back then for some. I'm sorry, no, they weren't. They were calling them deserts.
Deserts,
People were
yeah.
getting them
And
confused
back. Yeah.
with desert ghosts when DG first came around.
Yeah.
I actually just had one of our customers do that not long ago. She inquired about a desert ghost, and she's like, "Well, wait a minute, those can't reproduce." And I had to go through and explain that to her. So it's easy to get some of this stuff confused
Oh,
because
yes.
anymore you got to really research some of these newer genes people are throwing out because there's a good chance it's already existed and they've renamed it thinking it's something new.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of that go on over the last couple of years. So back to your refinance a house, you go and buy one of these things that are new
No.
and then find out it's not. Now what are you going to do?
Right. Yeah.
Well, not just that, but the fact that this is a bit of a gambling game anyway. You're trying to hope that the genes that you're working with are going to be those genes, and
Yeah,
that
right
you're
ones.
going to be on the top part of the gambling.
Yeah.
It's all kind of
And that
a
the
bit of
people
an
you buy from
addiction.
are honest.
But you want to, if you want to make that happen faster by having it happen now, I mean, that if you get in that headspace, that could be really detrimental.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That would be the very end of your
Could be,
career.
very
It could
quickly.
be, because it's just not, the odds are not in your favor at
Yeah.
that point.
Well, I think here's the other thing too. Like I know, like Dakota obviously will look at. There's some snakes in my collection that they'll be double or triple hats or something like that. I've got a couple I know like from Shawn that'll be like my double hats that are like for like the ultra mill puzzle and stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just like you just look at it. There's not much there. It's all and obviously the hidden stuff.
Right.
It's not it's the possibility of what's going to happen once you hit the visual, the double visual, or the visual with all of those other codoms in. How did that work with you guys? Because obviously I'm sure that, maybe Shawn saw the vision or something at the beginning. You're kind of like, what are you doing bringing home more turds? Because I know Dakota at the beginning,
Oh.
it wasn't that I was bringing home turds. It was just like, she was like, yeah, it's okay, but I'm not,
I just saw one of those.
But I
in
trust
Pennsylvania
you,
today.
your judgment. I know that
Yeah.
you're buying it
Yeah.
for a reason.
So I think I had a really good understanding, because I was so intrigued when we started having snakes to learn the morphs and to try to have Shawn teach me the ways of all of the morphs and the dominant, co-dominant, all the genes. And so I was kind of fascinated by the science, but at the same time, I don't know, like, what would you say?
Oh, there were some that you were like, why is that appealing? Why do we want that?
Yeah, I think he showed me the genetic calculator.
yeah.
Back when you could really use that. Now it's kind of.
So I was putting the genes into the genetic calculator, and I was fascinated with the outcomes. And I became a little bit obsessed, because then I started putting my two snakes that I had in my little tiny collection into this genetic calculator to try to figure out, well, what did I want to make? And
Right.
so I think when I got into that and I saw how the possibilities work,
Yeah.
just the idea of the possibilities was so enthralling to me that I honestly have never really taken a ton of interest in how the snake looks.
Yeah.
It's what can it make. So
Unless it's GHI, then I can't put it on the table because she'll take
Right.
it off.
Yeah.
That's her, GHI's her thing.
yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
here's the other super important thing for everyone who's seen their displays, the shows. If you notice, most people obviously just have a line or something. Like there's there's these fancy marble, metallic-y rocks that are in there that look awesome with the snakes in there. Whose idea was that, and who enjoys cleaning the poop up the most? when they
Okay,
poop in
so that was me. Rachel hated those. But after numerous shows of people saying how good they looked, I ended up winning that
I
battle.
hated them.
Now, when it comes to cleaning them, I hate myself for liking them.
Yeah.
Because it's never
They're not
easy
fun to
do.
clean, but we do it because they.
What you need is one of those little like portable golf ball washers.
Yes.
And you put the
Little
rocks in
tumblers.
there.
To
And
tumble 'em.
Absolutely.
Tumble.
Well, now we've started carrying an extra bag of them with us because it's gotten where you get annoyed when they do and you just pull everything out there and throw it in the
You
trash.
should private label them. SRS Magic Rocks.
Magic
Snake
Rocks.
People have asked us where do we get them, and I cannot answer that question because they
Hobby
came with the
So we had, and I think you saw them originally, we
Yeah.
had animal plastics.
Yeah, the old
displays.
ones.
yeah, they came with the displays
Yeah,
that we
and-
got.
And we really liked those displays. We get comments about the displays every show, but they were just really limited on the top, to
The
see the animal
viewing
very well.
of the animal was very
So
restricted.
I actually lucked out and happened to catch somebody that had, was it 6 or 8 sets we bought?
6.
A brand new displays. You just put the rocks in and they decided, well, like we were talking about earlier, got out because it wasn't going the way you thought it would. So I bought him out and the company across from me at Tinley bought me out
Yeah,
of the
they bought our
animal
old
plastics because they had them and they've been waiting forever to try to get more and couldn't get them.
Yeah.
So it all worked out. I took these home and was getting ready to deep clean, even though they hadn't been used. I still wanted to deep clean everything. And Rachel's like, no, absolutely not. We're not doing these marbles. And I'm like, trust me, we got to give these a try.
They're so ugly.
So she's like, all right, we'll do them for 1 or 2 shows. Well, people kept saying how good they looked. So
Yeah.
Like every
They're still
person
here.
that walked by,
No,
Yeah.
right?
they would come back and be like, I just want to tell you the beads look so good. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, thanks.
Now you gotta keep doing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
But they really do. They grew on me.
Yeah. I mean,
Sure.
and here,
they hold heat well too. So I mean, that's kind of
Yeah,
nice
dual
also.
purpose.
Yeah.
and here we go. I think just kind of to wrap it up, is showing a couple that works in the exotic space, because as we know, I think what the divorce right now in the US as it is like 50-60%.
Oh,
And in the exotic space, I'm pretty sure it's like 95%. No.
it may very well be.
No, I mean,
Stressful.
yeah, I mean, just
Very
because of the
stressful.
stress and stuff like that. Favorite memory as a couple as it relates to the business, whether it could be flinging poop and snake tubs at each other to going to Daytona or who knows.
You go first.
Wow. I'm gonna think
a
about
tough
that for a
question.
second. That's a tough question.
I know what mine is. Mine is in the backyard. Shawn holding Lloyd, our sulcata, and Eleanor, his girlfriend, our redfoot. And we're putting them out in the backyard, and the dogs are out, and the cat is out, and everybody is just in harmony in our house. That's the moments I love most about what we do. Really don't happen at shows. It's mostly at home because we are a family, and even my cat and my dogs are accepting of like geckos and
Yeah.
everything. They're just like, what do you have now? And they're cool, they're chill, but it just feels like Noah's Ark, like we're all getting along, I
Yeah.
like that.
Mine, I think, is still, we've done several shows with last couple of years where you'll have children come up to the table that mom and dad are telling you how they've been saving for this animal. They're
Oh,
saving
yes.
all their money. They're doing this, they're doing that.
Mhm.
And they got the enclosure. So maybe next show when we see you guys, they'll be able to get the animal. So we used to bring normal ball pythons to the show just for the purpose of people like that.
Yeah.
We'd look at mom and dad and say, can they have an animal now? And mom and dad would say, no, they can't afford it right now. They don't have the money, or they could. Here's your animal. They did that for several kids, and we actually had dad break down crying because we did it. But those are memories that you remember and the kids are gonna remember.
Oh yeah, it impacts us just as much as
So-
it does them.
Right.
When we're able to help out families or even education programs, teachers that needed a pet for the classroom. It's just doing this is like a really good opportunity just to be nice to people.
Bearded dragons. We used to do a lot of bearded dragons, and
Yeah.
we'd have kids come with their parents. They had to
Same
write a
thing.
5-page report before
Yeah.
they could get this animal.
Yes.
You know, it's just things like that that you encounter that
Right.
really make it worth it.
What
You
about
know,
you?
What's really going to make it worth this was one of those kids is like 18 or 21 and they come back and say, hey, you know, I bred that snake. Did you realize it was triple het?
It made me rich.
Thanks for the ultra male clown puzzle.
Yeah, you know,
That's
we
fine.
used to do,
That's fine.
we used to
Pay
bend
it
a
forward.
little tiny show in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It was in this little Elks
Lodge.
Lodge.
Yeah.
It probably was maybe 3 or 4 times this room, not
Yeah,
much.
Right.
one of our best shows.
You know, we had a young girl come there, and her mom was telling us she bred her corgis. She sold the puppies, and now she wants snakes. And we're just thinking, wow, you know. Girl was what,
14.
maybe 14, 13, 14. So she ended up getting animals off of us. And then about 5-6 months later, she came to the show again for her birthday. And her mom said she had a chance to go to New York City or come see you guys
And
to
see
get
the
another
Macy's
snake.
Day Parade and all this
Yeah.
other stuff.
But she wanted to come see you guys and get another snake, you know, so that kind of shows you like the impression you can
Yeah,
leave
the impact
on the
you
younger
make.
generation, you know?
Yeah.
So it's super cool. I'm not so much, I mean, yeah, we got to have the adults in the hobby and everything, but it's the younger kids that are coming up that are going to really make this, in my opinion. You know, because, you know, yeah, there's a lot of younger people in the industry now, but there's also a lot of people that are getting older.
Yeah.
So those younger generation coming up and
Right.
keeping them interested, keeping them not scared of the animals, because
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but you got so many parents that are scared of them, so they make the child scared of them.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, that's not just with snakes, that's with a lot of situations.
Right.
But
Mhm.
so
I guess, do you have a show? What's your favorite one?
Like memory.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. It just would be more in general, similar to their answers. I think it's just, you know, meeting new people, the customers, other vendors, and, you know, developing a relationship with them
Yeah.
for a
Right.
long time,
Yeah.
the rest of your life.
Yeah. I gotta probably break mine down. I think probably into 2 parts. I mean, one, I would say like last year's spring St. Louis, because like the first St. Louis we did like in the fall, like that was like our first like away travel show. I felt like that was just kind of like a mess. But that spring St. Louis one that this year there's not. I mean, that one, I mean, obviously we had a good show. We actually found good places to eat. So like, you know, for people, I feel like we never vacation. And that's just part of me being cheap. There's no other way to put that. You know, combination of that, I would say, and then obviously, you know, that same spring, obviously right before then, I mean, you know, spring, well, no, that was last year's spring. So that was like a year apart or something. Spring Tinley. I mean, that first Tinley that we started, you know, going from just snakes to now snakes and all of our tarantulas that we breed and work with. I mean, that was nuts. I mean, she basically manned the snake side almost the entire show, because we were 5 people deep in tarantulas.
That's
You know,
crazy.
on something that we
That is
thought was
crazy.
maybe at best it would cover the table, but not do much. And between myself and 2 other people helping out, we were each 3 deep, you know, in customers.
So you can never catch a break.
So, I mean, that show was just kind of neat because it's like we didn't really get to talk to each other much at the show. And at the show, like at the end, we were just kind of able to look at each other like, you know,
Wow.
what
what
happened?
the heck just happened here?
Yeah.
You know, I guess maybe that's like the Tinley magic or whatever they
Yeah.
talk about, which before then we really hadn't experienced. So, I think that's got to be mine, at least to this point.
Yeah, we call that the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
It's the
it really
biggest,
is.
baddest, best show
Yeah.
in my book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember your guys' first year because you called me. I was on my way to Tinley, and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm coming to Tinley. And I'm like, Nick, the VIP doesn't start till blah, blah, blah. And you're like, no, they called me. I got a table. I'm coming to Tinley. And
Yeah.
super excited.
Yeah, no, I remember that because my buddy, that was back when Justin still vended Tinley, and he said, hey, dude, a bunch of people aren't showing up, call Potter. And so I called Potter, I'm like, dude, I can be there in like an hour and a half and set up. And Potter's like, okay, whatever, sure. Like,
Oh,
he'll
that's
take it.
awesome.
You know, looking back, it was funny because back then there were so many empty tables. Like Potter's like, do you want 1? Do you want 2? Do you want 3? And I was like, he's like, I could probably for sure get you 2. I'm like, no, I just need the 1 for now. Looking back now I'm like, man, I really should have done the 2 if I knew I was gonna then at some point then start actually selling tarantulas as well for my breedings. And like now I'm like, oh, I should ask for 2.
Eventually,
But,
you know, hopefully you'll get it.
Eventually, I think we'll just kind of have it like stacked on top, like above my head or something. There's gonna have to be tarantulas, but
You could.
yeah, I mean,
Maybe set up something in the background or something, you know, where you can
no, right.
store some and see them from the front.
But
Who knows?
I'll throw this out there. I mean, if there is anyone watching, if you have any questions or anything you want to bust your balls on here, feel free to do that. Throw that in the chat. Otherwise, I think we're probably going to wrap up here because we've got.
They don't have balls.
Oh, they don't have
We have
balls.
ovaries.
You can bust our ovaries, man.
Bust ovaries. Probably gonna get flagged for that one, but whatever. I'll beep it out. Throw it in the chat. Otherwise, we've got an escape room here. We're gonna be doing here pretty soon.
Yeah.
We're gonna go get some food at some point. If you guys didn't say happy birthday to Shawn, shame on you.
Happy
It's his wonderful birthday. He deserves some cheesecake. He would also like a brand new state-of-the-art shock collar. If you haven't watched
Rachel.
we didn't get to that at some point. I'm sure we'll bring it up again, which is both me and Rachel are known to be wanderers at shows and disappear for hours on end. The only upside is that usually 9 times out of 10, we know what row I'm in.
Yeah, you're probably
I'm in your row with you or Brock.
Rachel, I've kind of got it finally narrowed down to a couple different vendors I can usually find her at if I have to. And she never takes her phone. So I'm calling the other vendors going, is Rachel over there again?
Totally accidental.
Yeah. So I'm going on a bathroom run 2 hours later. I'm like, yeah, where'd she go? That's why I need the shock collar.
Yeah.
And it keeps shocking until she gets back behind the table.
Yeah. Yeah. So for everyone who hasn't tuned in and watched earlier episodes, that's like our ongoing thing that's been going between now my wife Dakota and Shawn that they've been joking about with both of us.
It's coming.
So
You'll have it before the next 10 weeks.
Oh, good God.
So coming as an add-on with janitor shirts, shock collars.
Yeah. Looking forward to the shirts.
But folks, I mean, if you don't got any comments, questions, concerns, funny stories you want to bring, we've got a date with an escape room here as well as some food.
We'll say real quick, if it's all right, keep an eye on the Black Lace project. It's coming around. It's going to come out hot.
Ooh.
Keep your eye on it.
All right.
We are stocked up and it's coming.
A little bit of tab at there for the future, but otherwise, folks, I mean, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Also bearing with us as we do our first kind of show on the road, bare bones. So didn't even know if the camera was honestly going to turn on today. Camera, so
not sure we even knew what we were going to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, we really didn't know. I mean, it was really like I was hoping that we would do it during the show. Thankful we didn't because I didn't think
the show was busy.
It was busy, and I don't think you would have heard anything. But hopefully, as we kind of are able to ramp up and get some better equipment here, we can start doing it at the show. I'm fingers crossed by fall Tinley. We will be doing our speed round, 15 minutes of fame, with hopefully trying to at least get through like 15 breeders on a Friday at Tinley. But
that could be fun.
More to come on that. But everyone who tuned in, thank you. Everyone who watched this later down the road, apologize for all the expletives, random jokes, but I'll see you all soon.